Hey,
Hey there.
how are you?
Good. Still can't see you. You're going to have to activate your own video, but you have permission to do it. There you go.
I'm realizing, are you echoing over here? How's the sound?
I've got headphones on, so all I hear is what's coming in through here. I don't hear me over there.
That's good. That means something's working. Okay,
Okay.
great. Hi.
Hi. You ready?
No.
Okay.
But
Well, let me.
but we've already discussed this that we've decided that the non-readiness is how we're gonna handle this. We're gonna go with it
Yes, we are. Okay.
because actually that's the way I've I've got such a problem with not being prepared that I've kind of evolved that into my performance style over the last couple of decades. It's kind of what I do when I get on stage is that I kind of be not ready. So actually what I'm doing here is an extension of, it's my shtick actually. That's come entirely out of my severe personality problems.
What if I told you I was going to include this in the actual video?
Yes, I presume so. Because
Let's.
we're on. I'm
Yeah,
assuming
we
maybe
are
people
on,
will
but
show up.
I ordinarily I start, like this. I say, "Welcome everybody. I want to thank you for coming today. Before we get started, I want to thank a couple people that I always thank. We want to thank brassandwinds.com. Brassandwinds.com. That's Quinn the Eskimo Company. When you want to buy or sell brass or woodwind instruments, these are the folks we would highly recommend you give a call to first. They're fantastic, they're courteous, and they're just the best in the business. Steve and I knew each other in college. I was introduced to him through a cassette tape of songs that changed the way I write songs and the way I think about songs. So I have always related to Steve as a songwriting mentor and a guide, but apparently there's much more to his life of writing songs than I knew about. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. Steve, say hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm terrific. How are you?
I'm good. My cat's here. I don't know if she'll stick around, but she may show up now and then.
And your cat's name is
Banjo. This is
Banjo.
Banjo, and she showed up in the lobby of my building uh, about a year and a half ago, and she was a tiny kitten, and my roommate and I were just immediately fell in love with her, and then without asking my roommate, just the next morning, I just brought her upstairs, and and um, and that was it, and that was it. And he's moved out, and she's my cat now.
And you have a whole series of cats outside that you take care of, isn't that right?
Yes, well, as a result of that. By the way, I'm going to make myself some coffee while we're talking here. Um, as a result of trying to figure out who this, I felt bad because I was like, well, someone told me that the mom cat had been outside the window trying to get to her and was too afraid to come in or something like that. So I just felt terrible, and my first instinct was that this cat should be back with her mom. But I never could figure out for sure who the parents were. I think I've got a couple of decent hunches at this point, but that just got me into this whole world of cats. It was like a deepening, complex underworld of cats. It was like the Chinatown of cats.
All these cats in your backyard with relationships to one another.
Oh yeah, and then the extended neighborhood, and I now have names for about 20 of them, and I'm very actively feeding two of them, one of which might be her mom and might not, and
And you're sharing details of these cats with us on Facebook and things like that.
yeah, us being anyone who tunes in, yeah, I sometimes even live feeding them, or there was a big drama because Tux, who's one of my outdoor cats, has a big rivalry with this other cat who I named One Eye because he's got one working eye. And I'm really, at this point, I'm fond of all the cats, even if they don't like each other. At first, I would pick teams. Like if a cat was, threatening one of my cats, I was like a protective parent, you know. But now I'm just realizing, well, they're just all just trying to survive out there, you know, and they just have their own shtick that they do to try to survive. So
Just like musicians.
just like everyone else. So
Yeah. Well, you had a cat
I'm
before.
fans of all these cats. I try not to take sides, even if I'm kind of feeding some of them more than others.
You had a cat named Mozart for a long time that you loved very much. Was
Yes.
was this interest in cat communities new to you because you were already a cat owner?
Yeah, the cat community thing is totally new. That's brand new.
What are you learning from it? I mean, you said you've been learning about survival and getting along, and there's something in it that speaks to you. But what's going on here?
Yeah, that's a good question. Forgive me, I'm sorry here. I'm just trying to get the milk together. Well, I don't know. I just like cats. I think cats, you know, I mean, we're animals at the beginning and end of the day, and we've been animals a heck of a lot longer than we've had language and thumbs. And I think we place so much importance on the fact that we have language and thumbs, and we just act as if we're not making most of our decisions based on the same decisions that cats are making. But in fact, we are a lot of the time. And I think cats, any animal, any pet can remind us a lot of who we really are. And I think that's valuable. That's great.
Is it helping you or this community get to know yourself better?
Well, I think, yeah, sure. I think so. And I think the way I react to it is also helping me in my little tiny incremental steps as a 53-year-old in the direction of adulting and parenting, which I think has not been a thing I've tended to do. You know, it's different. I mean, loving a cat, I think, is it's certainly less complicated than loving a person, and the things you need to do as a parent to the long range thing of how am I going to get this you know, kitten human to be a to get a human kitten into an adult is, I think, a lot more challenging than what it takes to. I mean, cat parenting is a lot simpler. I mean, cats start parenting at the time they're 6 months old. So can you imagine that?
No.
So, yeah. So yeah, you know, a whole world of things there that I don't.
Well,
know.
But I don't think it had occurred to me. I know all about your interest in cats, but it had not occurred to me that I guess this is not just a hobby for you. This is right now a way that you're learning something that you need to be learning.
Yeah. Well, then there's a whole other thing with the cats. I don't know if I want to get into it too much, but there's a whole TNR, trap, neuter, release community. The idea being, well, you could just kind of let the cat population run rampant, and what was typically happening is that I guess animal control would tend to get involved, or you know, cats get picked up, the cat shelters would get involved. Basically, if we don't as a community take it upon ourselves to limit the number of reproduction that these cats are doing, you're going to end up with a ton of cats that are going to end up in kill shelters and dead. So it is upon us who actually have some degree of affection for these cats to control that a bit, because they're in an urban environment, and blah blah blah.
No,
So
I mean, I don't think blah blah blah.
There's a lot of people who could talk about that a lot more eloquently than I can, but I've just started to get involved in some of that, so that the cats that are in my backyard that I'm feeding, they've been neutered and spayed, and but it's hard because you feel like they're not they aren't asking for that. They have their own way of doing things. So it feels, on one hand, really intrusive to do that. I've been resistant to it. It took me a while to adjust to it, but you know what? Having done it to that cat Tux, and being that I am taking care of him and watching how much more gentle and less stinky he is, and how it's certainly making him a more appropriate cat and a safer cat for himself, given the environment that he's in.
Yeah, well, you're talking about what you're really talking about is for you parenting. This is an act of
Yeah.
love and a difficult act of love that you're going through, and that's
Yeah.
relevant. It's relevant to any creative person. So, you know,
Sure.
I applaud you in finding a way to develop yourself in that way. And as odd as it may be for folks that don't know you, I think it's really cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's go back to the beginning, because I think you've always been on a quest to understand yourself and develop. I know that I'm constantly confused and befuddled, and my creative art helps me understand myself and what's going on around me. Is that true for you also?
I think so.
Okay. Well,
I think so, more than I'm aware of. I think there's a couple modes. Well, I've been long aware of kind of I guess I've always been attracted to the conflict between the formal components of art, the fact that you're just constructing something that has a formal beauty to it that doesn't have any particular meaning necessarily beyond almost the math of it, you know, that you maybe you set up a little. I think a lot of my songs on a musical level start out as a problem or something. I'm calling it a problem, but I don't really mean a problem, but almost like a conflict between two elements, and then over the course of the song, it plays out, and then it kind of resolves. And it's not like I'm doing that in a conscious way, but when I kind of look back at things, I go, oh, that's what's happening. Completely separate from what the song is supposedly about, there's a musical plot that's happening over the course of this 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and it's landing somewhere. So that's a formal thing. And then there's what the song is about in the lyrics and the music, which might be some feeling that I'm grappling with, or I don't know, an emotion I'm trying to put into words, or an idea. Often they're kind of concepts or ideas that I'm trying to put into words, and playing out and trying to surprise myself over the course of it. So then there's that piece of it. And then there's the performance piece of it, which is sometimes a whole other mystic discipline. You know, okay, so this is a song in which supposedly about a feeling. So is the song gonna dramatize the feeling? Am I gonna sing a vocal that has the words have a sadness to them or something like that? Am I gonna sing it like it's sad? Or is that really what the music is supposed to do? Or is the music in some way acting at a, you know, in mysterious relation to that feeling, right? So it could be a sad song, but you sing it happy, or you're actually trying to release the emotion, or you're leaving a space for an emotion to happen. I think inadvertently some of my best stuff doesn't claim to have any particular feeling to it at all, but it's trying to leave a space for the person listening to it to have their feeling. It's, in other words, it's not trying to dictate a feeling. It's trying to create a space for a release of some kind to happen. Maybe it's not even just one feeling, you know? So.
Is that why sometimes your songs can be very goofy and yet they make me feel profoundly sad? Is that what?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly why. I think so. Sure. That's funny. Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is a funny thing, right? Like the most optimistic song that one could write might be something that would drive someone to bring someone to tears, right? Because when you're optimistic, you maybe you get disappointed because maybe the world doesn't go the way we want it to go, you know. But the opposite can happen as well, right? I mean, songs about comedy is usually about pain, and it's usually a different kind of release. It's like going well, it's just allowing you to step outside of whatever is painful and maybe see how.
Yeah. And since that's not
Yeah,
possible
yeah,
in real
yeah,
life.
you think, huh? Yeah, you think your problems are big. Well, you know, look at how little you are. You know, look at how little. You know, so both of those are important perspectives. I think we can be too removed from our feelings, and we can need something to go, no, that actually matters, you know. And the opposite is to be too stuck in this matters, and to be able to go, hey, you know, take a walk, go outside, get some sun.
It,
Look, there's a beautiful moon out. Go, you know, it's not such a big deal, you know. Life, death, whatever.
are any of your songs coming to mind right now for possible demonstration purposes? Something you have you got one running through your head that matches this discussion?
No, do you?
You know, the Whoop-De-Doo song I think is the one that's
Oh,
hitting me the
great.
hardest.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yes, that's exactly what's going on there, I guess.
Would you like to perform it for us?
Sure. um You know, the question is how, because I think I'll do it with piano. Live, in recent years, I've often done this a cappella, but there's such a site-specific thing about these things. There's something, it's very different playing it in a room full of people and stepping away from the mic, and then I'm feeling it on piano today, so let me do it here. Also, I never do it in this key. I'm going to do it in this key.
Sure. Okay.
So I know what happens. I've got a big, big sadness that no time, no tears can wash away. And I've got a deep, deep madness that no wine, no beer can crush today. And I wish I could sell off my sorrow, but it's the kind that you can't buy or borrow, and it's bound to be here each tomorrow. Whoop-de-doo, loo, loo, whoop-de-doo. And I've got a gold-plated heartache that won't rust, won't bust, won't disappear, and a picture of you as a keepsake from one fine day in one fine year. And I wish that I had you beside me, but long, long ago you untied me, and I lost you without you to guide me. Whoop-de-doo, loo, loo, whoop-de-doo. And I've got a home in the ocean. I've got a home in the ocean, that's right, where no light, no love have ever been. And sometimes I do get a notion to make my break and dive right in. But even if the deep don't refuse me, I know that these blues still won't lose me. They'll preserve me and death still won't choose me. Whoop-dee-doo, loo, loo, whoop-dee-doo. And I've got a home where the sun stops. No street address, no door, no name. It's 10 times as old as the sunspots. It holds all hope, it feels all pain, and it doesn't need me to mind it. And I can always find shelter behind it. And I will get lost and I will find it. Whoop-dee-doo, loo, loo-dee-doo.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And I'm going to make a case for making sure that that performance gets to the viewers because in spite of
Good.
Zoom's limitations of sound, in spite of you changing keys and having difficulty remembering, there's something about the struggle that you know to get that song across on the spur of the moment in those unusual conditions that opens you up to the vulnerability of that song, which I find very moving.
Okay. Well, how cool. Okay, I'm happy to re-record it if it got too glitchy. But if that works, then we can do it.
What I'd suggest is that we perhaps attach a video of a more preferred performance of the song at the end, so that people
Okay.
can get that too. But I really
That's great.
loved that you shared something that intimate with us in that way. Thank you.
Great. That's fine. We'll do. That's good.
Great. So well, so like it's I don't want to talk too much about me and what I think because I'm really interested in talking to you, but I think I never noticed the extent to which your words, they can be very complicated and some of the metaphors can be really deep, never push too far that I can't attach to them, but yet those metaphors, by distancing me from you, they do allow me the room to come in. And I don't think I'd ever noticed that before. Like, you don't have to tell a story as literal as Hank Williams, you know, why don't you love me like you used to do? You can say, why can't the alien love me like it used to do when it was on that planet? And then all of a sudden, oh, there's room for me. It's a strange sort of thing.
It's funny. Well, it's interesting. I forgot that song has kind of metaphors in it. It does. But I think at that point, I remember that may have been kind of a breakthrough song in a way. I know I didn't, I know I worked on it harder than I thought I had. I had a story about how I wrote that song, that I kind of woke up and it was this kind of a country parody that was sort of in my head, or that I was in the shower after waking up and it was just kind of singing it to myself. And I just thought this was kind of funny, you know, and I was really singing it with kind of a country voice. And so that I kind of wrote the first verse in the shower, and the second verse making breakfast, and then the third verse on the subway on the way to work. And then bang, it just kind of flowed out of me, and there it was. And then I performed it at an open mic. And when I first few times I performed it, it was really comedic, that when the whoop-de-doo thing would come out, everyone would laugh. Like I I was in this place in it. I think it was so surprising that that was the refrain. And I didn't like the way it ended, because it ended with me jumping in the ocean or something. And it's like, yeah, there's another verse there. And then maybe a couple days later, I came up with that last verse, like another morning. And I do get the sense I didn't think very much about what I was writing. It was one of those wonderful moments when I don't even know, when you don't know what you're saying, but it feels right. It feels like you're not just saying some pretentious, making up something. It felt true, even though I didn't understand it. And I think that in the beginning, the fact that I was singing this thing that felt profoundly true, that I didn't understand, was very moving for me. At times it would be hard for me to get through performing the song. Now, I've gone back and looked at the journal where I was writing this in there, and it's a lie. I did work it out. There was a lot more crossing out lines and moving things around than I remembered it. I had confabulated a version of things. But the other thing that's interesting about that journal entry is everything that's surrounding it, which is, so I wrote this a long time ago. I think maybe I was somewhere around 30. I don't know, somewhere between 29 and 31. And I was a pretty immature 31-year-old. And the journal entries around it are like, you know, I can't believe he said this or she said this, or I'm so mad at, it really looks like something that a teenager's writing. And then I go, oh, hey, look, this is this song I came up with today. And then I'm writing out, I guess it's a more finished draft of the song. And then there's this thing there that doesn't sound like a kid at all. And then it goes right back into the like, yeah, I think that's pretty good. And then, you know, I just can't believe you said this. And it just goes right back into this petty shit. And it's like, wow, or how can these be the same person? So I think the me that's a songwriter tends to be a lot more grown up and less dysfunctional at times than the me who's at any given life period than the me who's slogging through my days, you know.
Can I ask for a clarification on that?
Sure.
Is the songwriter the person who exists after the song is finished, like this is my songs and I am the person who wrote them, I am the songwriter? Or is the songwriter the person that you become while you're writing the songs? Which of those people is the one?
Well, they're both me. I mean, songs are I think any art is I didn't understand this for a long time. Maybe I only figured this out this week, that you see, when I was a teenager, I thought art was easy. I thought songwriting was easy. Like, you could just do this, you know. Why anyone could do this, you know? And in a way that's true. Anyone who wants to. But how is it that any number of people will have a short period where they write a bunch of stuff and it seems effortless, and maybe it is effortless in that moment, and then they seem to lose it, you know, they seem to lose the ability, or it's intermittent. They'll have periods where they're in the flow and it goes away and then it comes back. Well, I think when you're really doing it, it's like dreaming while you're awake. And that's not easy to do. How do you do that? You know? I mean, imagine if you could literally dream when you were awake. Imagine if you could just sort of do that thing that you're doing when you're dreaming, when you're awake. I think that's a big part of what it is, or at least semi-dreaming when you're semi-awake. And when you hear Bob Dylan talking about it, that seems to be how he's just alluding to it in a way, you know. He's those songs just kind of came out of me. And he's another guy where when you see I mean, you always see the smarts there, but there is this kind of sense at times like, how can this, he's a goddamn fool. And he never really comes off as a fool, you know, maybe like a holy fool or something, but he's an immature little bastard. How can all this greatness come out of him? How can, you know?
Yeah, him and Richard Wagner, you know, I mean, a lot of these people,
Yeah.
something about the creative tends to transcend who they are as people. But
Yeah.
also, I didn't want to forget to mention that one of your heroes, Duke Ellington, he described his process. He says, I'm dreaming. I'm just dreaming. And he's playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he said when someone
Wow.
asked him, what are you doing? I'm dreaming. And he plays for them.
Yeah, him. I've got to figure out how the heck did he do? How did the degree to which he was prolific in that period, it really seems impossible, and I'm starting to think it is impossible. I think probably more than we are fully aware or that gets documented. I suspect he had more people writing some of the arrangements that the band was doing than just him, because it's just too much material. It seems like it would be physically impossible to do the amount of stuff he was doing in the 30s. And I had just read, I think I was reading about Mary Lou Williams, the great piano player, and it was saying, I think it was her, and they were talking about that she was touring with them in a period of time and writing certain things. And I was like, okay. Now, you never see that written about. You know, everyone knows about Billy Strayhorn writing stuff, and he got a fair amount of credit, but there was also a lot of ghostwriting that went on there.
You think
but it's still always had his voice and his imprint on it. So even if he had people helping him, I'm sure that he was the one. I'm sure he was putting his mark on it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get back to a point about the dreaming thing, which is to say, I do have the experience. Sometimes I'll have an especially intense or lucid, vivid dream. And once in a while I'll have a dream where if I have to ask myself, is this a dream? Well, then it's a dream, because when you're awake, you never say, is this a dream? So as soon as I go, is this a dream? I know it's a dream. But sometimes I can go, okay, so I'm dreaming. And I'll look and I'll be like, wow, but that's some really pretty good detail on the paint cracking off the wall here. That is amazing. My mind is generating something, and I could swear that I'm really here. You know, that's very rare, but the mind can do that, and that's astounding. And then at other times I'll have horrible, upsetting, bloody dreams. I had a dream that had a massacre in it. It was almost like kind of a mafia family massacre, like it was supposed to be a wedding, and it was just I guess it was kind of like that wedding in Game of Thrones. And it was so horrible. And I woke up from it and I thought, oh, what kind of messed up person would come up with something like that? Like, I really didn't like the writer and director of this movie that I had just seen. Like, and I was like, oh, somehow that was me, you know? It didn't feel like me. I didn't want it to be me. It didn't feel like me at all, but no one else was in there. It was me. So this is a really long way of answering your question, but I feel like, is the songwriter me? Well, yeah, but does it feel like me? Sometimes it doesn't. Other times it's blatantly obvious why I came up with something. And not all songs are relatively easy like that one. There are other songs of mine that I think more often than not, I'm developing a different way of getting at stuff where you just write a ton of stuff. Maybe it's like, instead of just dreaming it out, maybe it means doing that same thing like 10 times, overwriting, and writing a bunch of garbage, and then sometimes like there'll be a few good lines in every one of these bunches of garbage, and then maybe sometimes you can kind of patchwork quilt that together into something.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
I have a question actually that fits
yeah.
right into that. If you're dreaming while you're awake, something's got to give, right? So what is that?
Oh, um, what's being pushed aside, or for the
Right.
sake of that? Yeah, something that's more linear or logical, or probably less associative and more habitual and mundane. So maybe a song is a way of among many other things, it's a breaking of a habit, or it's a summing up of a habit. One way that some songs have happened for me over the years, see, it's very hard to tell sometimes if a story or a song or something, or the subject of it, is going to be of value to anyone other than myself. Like, I found that when I'm on the few times I've tried to like write a love song to someone, I almost never feel like those ones are very successful. They end up feeling more like a greeting card to that person, you know. And there's something too local about that. I mean, it might serve a perfectly good function for that person, but it's too narcissistic, potentially. I mean, I'm using the love song example, but maybe there's a better example. But like, how do I know if something's going to work, even as something to write about? What I find is, if something happens to me 3 times, then it's a pattern. And as soon as it's a pattern, it's a song.
Hmm.
Somehow, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep doing this, you know. And if I keep doing this, probably everyone keeps doing this. So then I'm trying to connect into something in me that's not just me. Because at the end of the day, one of the things I think we are trying to do with art is to break out of this hellish local self into a bigger self. What does it mean to be a thing, a living thing, anything? What does it mean to be to be? So that goes right back to the initial question you asked, I guess, which is, am I trying to understand things?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a good answer. I'm really intrigued by this difference between the song that you dream and it comes out and it's fairly, fairly, it behaves itself pretty well and comes out more or less like you want it to in a reasonable amount of time. And the song
Yeah.
that somehow something gets in the way and you end up writing a bunch of stuff that you can't use. And there's
Mm.
something there, like there's something on your shoulder, or or you're being stupid, or you're actually awake when you wish you were dreaming and you're pretending to be dreaming.
Mm.
Have you
Yeah.
got
Right.
so have you got a song like that that you could share with us?
Yeah. Well, this is probably my most overplayed song of the last few years, because I kind of stopped finishing anything after it, which is the state I'm still in. And I think that happened for a couple reasons. One, I think this song was different enough and I liked it enough that I got scared of the next thing, which I was convinced was going to be mundane compared to it. And I got afraid of writing something mundane, which is never helpful. But also, I think my life just was, even at the point that I wrote this, my life was in such chaos that I think I just felt I needed to redirect my energy towards just trying to keep a roof over my head, and such that I could have more time and space to pursue art and things, or pursue anything. So anyway, this is that song. You and I tried to Zoom session this, and it sounded terrible. I'm talking technically. So there's a problem. It's fast, you know.
Yeah.
But what came to me, I wrote this song over a long period of time, and I just found myself with this thing. It was a line: "I know nothing anymore. Yes, I've checked, and now I'm sure," which I just thought was immediately kind of funny. That I was now sure that I didn't know anything, which sounds a little paradoxical. But it accompanied a melody that I thought was really so nice, and I couldn't remember having come up with it. And I've actually had a paranoia now for all these years that someday I'm going to be in a grocery store and I'm just going to hear that song and I'm going to be like, oh no, you know, it could happen, right? But I know nothing anymore. Yes, I've checked and now I'm sure. Ants are marching on my windowsill. They've memorized the score. And every second passing slow brings more something I don't know. I know nothing anymore. In the shaping of all things, the path of least resistance sings. Arcing lightning, river veins, and love's demands for diamond rings. And the clock strikes 17. They mean all they don't mean to mean. And they promise it till never, evermore. And my muscles are unkind. They ignore my heart and mind. I want lemonade and valentines and love to leave behind. And my mist across the sea sends misty messages to me. We might miss each other happily evermore. And life's a lamb shog, a damn fog, a damp frog, a scamp dog, and life's a goldfish, a cold dish, a bold swish, a told wish. Will you love me when I fail? Can I hold you when you wail? Will you walk with me along the tracks each time our dreams derail? Will you break straight through with me? Help to make our eyes a we? Will you stay with me forever, evermore? And life's a hard climb, a long time, a short time, an art, crime, a start, line, and star shine, baby. I know nothing anymore. I'm not bluffing more and more. And so no, every hallway vows to vanish every time I close the door, and every second passing slow brings more something we don't know. We know nothing anymore. There we go.
Yeah, nice.
Did
Tell
that
me.
glitch up or did that come through? Or
No,
both?
it came through very well.
Okay.
Again, we can always, have
Yeah.
a more polished performance at the end. But which came first, the A section of that, the first part, da 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 da, or the B part where it changes up?
Oh, funny. That's kind of a trick question because I always forget about this, but the riff in the B part is imported from a much older song of mine. You said you'd love me when hell freezes over, but that's okay. 'Cause hell's freezing over today. And you said you'd miss me when hell's freezing over. Well, baby, baby, baby. Hell's freezing over. Hell's freezing over. Hell's freezing over. Hell's freezing over. It goes on like that. It was that's what that is. But I don't remember how that ended up in this. I don't remember whether I had the tune and put that in. I don't remember that part. It just sort of was there.
You described the song as one of the songs that was very hard to write, and I'd like to get a sense of what that process was. How many did it take you? Years to write? Months to write? Years.
Yeah, I think I came up with the first two lines and the whole tune around 10 years ago, 2010, and I performed it at the time. I think you visited me and I played that version for you. And I played it out once, and as soon as I was playing it live in front of people, I was like, this is bull, this is dumb. There was something about dreams of fallen like puddles on the floor, something like that. There were just very forced images and things in it, and I just was suddenly feeling like that is just not real. That's just lazy, and it just doesn't feel right. So, but I really liked the tune. It's funny, as I was playing it now, I was like, isn't this tune a lot like the other one that I played? I think they have a similar cadence to the melody in some way.
They do, yeah.
Da, 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 la, 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 la.
It's almost like you change the rhythm and it's the same melody.
Yeah, it's almost the same. So we're giving people a very limited idea of what my songs sound like.
Cheating the audience.
Yeah. So I really liked the song. I felt like it's funny because I'm such a generally a music first person, or a music first and maybe one or two lines person. But I think in a way I get a lot more feedback when I play out for my lyrics, which is funny because I think of myself as more of a music guy. But I think my songs, I think the tunes, I think I've always known this about my tunes, that they are simply nice little boxes that are supposed to have something in them. Like, I think maybe when I was like 12 or so, when I started feeling more serious about making up music, I nonetheless felt like I'm making up songs that need words. I'm making a bunch of little boxes and they need something in them and they don't have something in them, and I don't know how to put something in them. And it may be a while before I know how to put something in them. And indeed, I think it took me many, many years before I created things that I still perform, like the songs I wrote when I was 21, I still play some of those songs, a few of them. Earlier than that, it's rare. No, there's a couple of them. So yeah, that must be a type, someone who makes the box first and then puts the thing in it.
But the box is always the music?
Yeah, for me. Yeah.
Mhm. But you do sometimes write words first, you said.
I do. Almost never.
Almost never. Okay.
Beyond one line. Like,
All right.
I can't tell you for sure whether I first came up with I Know Nothing Anymore as a lyric or often I think it's like maybe I'll have a word phrase. I'll make up a melody that goes with the word phrase, and then I'll write the rest of the music at that.
But what you were saying was you were surprised that it's the lyrics that people remark on rather than the tunes.
Yeah, some of that's probably also my delivery, that
Mhm.
I'm not a proper singer, there is a talky quality to the way I um, um, deliver my tunes.
Mhm.
And I think I write for my voice and its limitations to some degree, and I'm trying to do that more. Um,
Well, I could suggest something else if you
huh?
want. I
Yeah.
would suggest that most people who write melodies of your caliber don't bother putting good words in them at all. I
Huh.
mean, I think I'm thinking of I'm in a Neil Diamond kick now, listening to his music, and some of his melodies are just great, and a lot of
Mm,
his words are really drecky. Even for the great songs like "I Am," I said, that sure is a
mm,
catchy song, but it's if you take the words out, they're kind of empty. I mean, they're meaningful to him, and you can tell that they are meaningful to him. But "I Am," I said, is not a great lyric.
well,
So your lyrics, on the other hand, are very interesting, and
mm,
so you have this really beautiful melody, and then a lyric that not only sounds like a spoken thing, it's got the right
yeah,
cadence. You're not
yeah,
using syllable or anything like that, and then also they're meaningful and
mm,
sometimes profound.
mm,
And so when you have that combination, most people aren't qualified to talk about your music. Oh, that was a great 5/1 cadence. I wasn't expecting it there.
mm,
They're going to be like, well, because the music was so good, the box was perfect, and I opened it up,
yeah.
and there were your words. Wow.
Interesting. Wow, that's cool. Well, yeah, I think, if I may, on my, I've been a part of a New York music scene for the last 20 years. I don't know where it's headed, given that the venue that we all tended to play at closed down about a year ago. But I've noticed that there were different camps in that community, and I think it's indicative of some types in general. So it was the anti-folk community, but really what it was a folk-oriented community that was very open to kind of everything. It embraced everything. You could be a noisy band as long as but I would say that the basis was kind of an edgy folk or folk punk folk, aggressive folk, cabaret, something of the, but real like German art, edgy political art cabaret. I've lost my plot. What I was going to say is, there are songwriters where you're going there just for you're going there for the tune, and the words are working if they don't get in the way of the dream you're having with the tune. So that Neil Diamond song, I've never bothered to get at what he's trying to say there, but what's the chorus?
I said to no one there, and no one heard, not even the chair.
Okay. The bottom line is, when I hear that, I hear I said, and that's what I'm left with, and it and it works. It works in the same way that maybe a piece of choreography and a dancer doing a grand gesture works. The words feel like a part of the gesture with the music. So it's an effective song.
It is.
And people can plug whatever they want into it. And I think like Paul McCartney on a really good day is that he's managing to do that too, you know. Then there are songwriters where the music might be good, but it's really just there in service of the words. So Dylan actually writes some beautiful melodies. We don't talk about him that way, but you're there for the words, and the music is perfectly complementing what the words are doing. I just know in my scene there are just I can name 20 lyricists who are just, they're just, I feel like what they're able to do with words, it's effortlessly or with not that much effort is just so far beyond what I can, well, what I'll ever be able to do. And there are people in my scene who I think write more shocking and interesting music, and certainly can perform it more interestingly. I think if I have a niche in there, and I'm not the only one, but I am one of these people where I think what I aspire to, I don't even know if I get there, is trying to dangle a thread between those two things. That what I want to do is create something where you're not picking apart either thing, and you're left with whatever feeling is left in the air in the tension between these two things. Like in the same way that maybe in the world of comic books, there are great comic book writers, and there are great, maybe there are people who you just go there because the draftsmanship is just so stunning. But songwriting, like comic books, I think is about the way these two things are interacting with each other, and whether they are, and the tension that's produced between them. Sometimes it's the cognitive dissonance between what the music is saying and what the words are saying. So you look at the words on the page, these are happy words. You listen to the music, this is music that has something other than happy in it. Maybe it's angry, or maybe it's sad, or maybe it's ugly sounding, and so the art is these things superimposing on each other, and it's stronger for that. I like that stuff. I feel like that's where I live, whether or not I'm the best at that. I think Ray Davies of the Kinks, in his best stuff, that's what he was doing. I think the one that I and a lot of people think is the real masterpiece is Village Green Preservation Society. And that is an album where really, if you look at the lyrics on their own, you wouldn't know why people hold that album in such high esteem. But the feeling in each and every one of those songs has such a wonderful, it has feeling, it's got a nostalgia, it's got an ironic distance from nostalgia, where you get to both be in the middle of the nostalgia and also laugh about it. But it really is this delicate thread between all those things. And then I feel like a few years later, he was much too literal, and he was hitting you over the head with something he wanted to say. And that became much less interesting to me. He still had wonderful stuff, littered through there. But that to me was his moment when I don't know what happened later. I think he got distracted. I think he was second guessing himself. I think that things in his life changed, as happens with us, all of us,
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part, right? like you said from the beginning, the lack of consistency with songwriters, the thing that seems to, it seems like they're working really well in this 3 or 4 year period, and then what happened? And I
Yeah.
ponder that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm afraid we're going to have to stop this particular chat
Okay.
for reasons of time. However, I would love to continue with you in a second one if you are willing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Great.
I'm having a great time.
Me too. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us this round. I promise you, if you're willing, I'm willing to go another one.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Please continue to watch us. We're going to be interviewing Darcy Hamlin, horn player with the Milwaukee Symphony, and we're going to be talking to other folks as well. And a great colorist and songwriter friend of mine, Dave Pickett. I can't wait to introduce you to these people. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.
I'm having no luck re-recording this song with the piano, so I'm just going to try with no piano. Oh. I've got a big, big sadness that no time, no tears can wash away. And I've got a deep, deep madness that no wine, no beer can crush today. And I wish I could sell off my sorrow, but it's the kind that you can't buy or borrow. And it's bound to be here each tomorrow. Whoop-de-doo, loo, whoop-de-doo. And I've got a gold-plated heartache, won't rust, won't bust, won't disappear. And a picture of you as a keepsake from one fine day in one fine year. And I wish that I had you beside me, but long, long ago you untied me, and I lost you without you to guide me. Whoop-de-doo, loo, whoop-de-doo. And I own a home in the ocean where no light, no love have ever been. And sometimes I do get a notion to make my break and dive right in. But even if the deep don't refuse me, I know that these blues still won't lose me. They'll preserve me and death still won't choose me. Whoop-de-doo, loo, whoop-de-doo. But I own a home where the sky stops. No street address, no door, no name. It's 10 times as old as the sunspots. It holds all hope, it feels all pain. And it doesn't need me to mind it, and I can always find shelter behind it. And I will get lost and I will find it. Whoop-de-doo, loo, whoop-de-doo. I know nothing anymore. Diamond rings, and the clock strikes like 17. They mean all they don't mean to mean, and they promise it till never, evermore. And my muscles are unkind, they ignore my heart and mind. I want lemonade and valentines and love to leave behind. And my miss across the sea sends misty messages to me. We might miss each other happily evermore. And life's a lamb shog, a damn frog, a damp frog, a scamp dog, and life's a goldfish, a cold dish, a bold swish, a told wish. Will you love me when I fail? Can I hold you when you wail? Will you walk with me along the tracks each time our dreams derail? Will you break straight through with me? Help to make our eyes a we. Will you stay with me forever, evermore, evermore? And life's a hard climb, a long time, a short time, an art, climb, a start, line, and starshine, baby. I know nothing anymore. I'm not bluffing more and more.